All right, good afternoon. Welcome to our podcast today, Who's in the House with Michael. I am joined by my distinguished guest, Philip Vetrano. And Phil, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you, Michael, for having me.
So I know you drove from Massapequa today, but let's start at the beginning. I always like to start at the beginning. My audience knows we start at the beginning. Where were you born and raised?
So I was born and raised in Queens up till I was 6 years old, and then really my childhood is really Seaford, New York. Yeah.
So what part of Queens?
It was Richmond Hill.
Okay, all right. And you went to school in Seaford mostly?
Yeah, Seaford School District, and then graduated Seaford High School in '87.
So somebody else I spoke to, maybe the owner of the company, graduated from Seaford.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe there's somebody else at Seaford. I used to have a boat. I used to go out on the North Shore all the time, and it was on a trailer. And when I wanted to go out of the Great South Bay, I had there was a boat ramp next to someone's backyard in the back neighborhood where I used to sneak into that area in Lindenhurst, Seaford area, to get into the water. So that's
wow.
Yeah, it was lucky. Instead of going to a public space, it was like a private ramp, but nobody used it. So I just drop it in and out of the water. So when you grew up in Seaford, what were your hobbies? What kinds of things did you do?
I was outside all the time, playing sports with my friends, football, baseball, stickball, the whole gamut. We lived near Seaman's Neck Park, and so that was my backyard.
So anybody in the family neighborhood have a boat? I mean, it's pretty close to a boating community.
So we're not boat people. I get seasick even as soon as we don't see land anymore. It's like, oh, forget it.
Right on. Siblings?
Yes, I have a twin sister.
Lovely. And what were you into in school? What hobbies and what kinds of things did you do in school?
So again, it was all sports and.
So what'd you play?
So played soccer, played some baseball, and track.
That's cool. You know, Joey G is a baseball guy, big baseball guy, Joe Giametta.
Excellent.
Yeah, we had interviewed him. He has a history.
AVA leader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's got history. His brother was tried out for the Yankees.
Outstanding.
Yeah. He's a baseball guy. So if it ever comes up in conversation, right? So, all right. So you're in school. You got hobbies. You're playing sports. Any music in the family? Anybody do anything like that?
So just the chorus thing.
Okay.
I'm definitely not a singer.
Were you the one that was mouthing and pretending to be singing, but not really singing?
No, I was actually one of the guys who was singing, and looking at the the other folks who weren't singing.
My 30-year-old something daughter has revealed to us recently that she was never singing, that she was always just mouthing it. So that
full disclosure,
that's been a recent conversation in my house. Always fun things that come out as they get a little older. All right. So where'd you go to school? What'd you go to school for?
So I wasn't really into school with the subjects that they were offering.
Yeah.
But I knew I wanted to go into business, because every time I would visit any sort of retail area, I would observe and analyze and assess, hey, they're doing it differently than the other group. And so I was very interested in being an entrepreneur. And so I started working, delivering papers, and then I jumped from job to job. But I was always interested in business. So there wasn't many business classes in high school.
Right.
So I was really excited to go to college. I went to Pace University in the city. They had an accounting program. So initially I wanted accounting. And then I took an accounting class in high school. And I said, no, not really for me.
Yeah.
Still love business. And then I went to Pace University. My first year, I got a rude awakening that it was like 13th grade. Because what was I taking?
Electives.
I was taking general education.
Yeah.
Oh, let's take more English that I didn't like. Yeah. Let's take more history I didn't like. Yeah. Let's take a science. I'm like, I'm in a business school and I'm taking this first year of general education. I moved to Westchester. Pace University has three campuses. Yeah. And then I thrived, because now I'm taking management courses, marketing courses.
So when you moved to Pace in, where'd you say?
Westchester.
In Westchester. You didn't get different courses, curriculum there because you moved campuses. It was more because you completed the criteria, right?
So both campuses offered most of the same classes.
Yeah.
So I didn't miss any classes. Of course, there were different professors, but it was just because when I went to the city, I was commuting, and it was like a job.
Sure.
So it didn't have that campus feel, but during that year, I was visiting my friends who lived on campus,
Right.
and that was something that excited me. And
My,
and then I went to
my
Westchester.
brother-in-law graduated Pace, so I've been up there a few times. Yeah,
Excellent.
he was in the music program, so we're familiar with that area. Um, and I had the same experience in college. I went to school my first 2 years. I wasn't a good student in high school. And like you said, your freshman year, it's English 13th grade, it's math 13th. I'm like, what am I doing here? And once you kind of get through that, you start moving into real stuff. And, I started excelling a little bit in school and then pushed it. And I ended up going in to get a business degree myself. So that's when it gets a little interesting now, right? So you're taking classes that you're enjoying at Pace?
Yes. So that's when I'm excited, I'm interested. And we started a t-shirt business
While you were in school?
while I was in school.
Just to help pay for pizza? That kind of thing?
In fact, I worked at the pizzeria and I did delivery. But yeah, it was extra money. Plus, it built my business skills in selling t-shirts. And they were clever, funny t-shirts that we'd sell on campus. And then after I graduated, the partner that I had, his name was Tom, we went on a road trip to sell t-shirts across the Northeast.
I want to dial back a little bit. I want to
Yeah.
ask about your parents. What'd your parents do?
So my parents, so my dad is a retired adjunct professor at NYU, but before that, he was in the world of commercial real estate.
Okay.
So he was a property manager for big, large buildings.
Got it. What about mom? Was mom a stay-at-home mom or?
So mom worked for the Social Security, the government side.
Okay.
And that was interesting. And the more stories that she would tell, the less interested I was to ever work
Is it really
for
crazy?
a government.
Is it crazy?
Yes.
Really?
They haven't hired somebody in the last 20 years.
Wow. I'm fearing the day I have to go to the office and start asking questions. This is why I'm asking.
Get
you.
in line now.
I know it's on my radar. I'm planning the next stage of my life. I'm thinking about all these things now. I'm starting to, trying to put together a little strategy. It's frightening. The thought's like going into the motor vehicle. I think back in the day. All right. And what about your sister? What'd she end up going on for?
So she went to Nassau Community, got her associate's degree, and then she followed my dad's footsteps, and now she's in commercial real estate, and she's supporting a portfolio of buildings on Long Island.
Good for her. You see her a lot? You guys are close? You're twins?
Yeah, she has a daughter, Sam, that I'm helping in what I do, and yes, we talk to each other, once every 2 weeks.
That's good. What about your family? You get married, children?
Yes. So after Pace University, I went to graduate school for my MBA at Hofstra University.
Terrific.
And that's where I met my wife.
Okay.
And we got married in '96.
Wonderful. Did your wife have a career?
Yes, she still has a career. So she's in the world of banking, and she's worked for about 8 different banks, and she's now in the world of management in banking at M&T Bank.
Every time I hear management, I cringe. I did 30 years of it. I loved it. And now if I think about going back to ask other people to do things or motivate other people, it sounds frightening. It's just I'm over it. I've done it.
Yeah.
So does she enjoy what she's doing?
So she's getting the other side of it, and she enjoys what she's doing. Yes.
All right. So what was your path after you got your MBA at Hofstra University? What was the next thing for you?
So after Hofstra, I did a number of careers, but it's always in the business arena. And I threw myself into the computer world and did a lot of software training and support. So that was a great industry to be in at the time, because they would hire anybody.
But that's super techy, right? I mean, you need to understand it real well.
Yeah. So I was experienced in the software applications that the college, shared with me, and then I had jobs that supported. So they had Lotus 1, 2, 3
Sure.
at work.
I remember
So
that.
I had the Microsoft skills.
Yeah.
And then all these companies were looking for educating the people who didn't have these skills.
Okay.
And so that's how I got into software support.
It's funny because it's not that long ago, but it seems light years ago that we had to educate people how to do these things.
This is mid-90s.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. I catch stuff on television sometimes, and it's not that long. I go to look at the date. I'm like, that's not really that long ago. It seems like we're so far behind then,
Unless you talk to a 20-year-old, and then we're ancient.
My 31-year-olds are already feeling a little older.
Wow.
Yeah, they're already feeling it.
Wow.
Yeah. So All right. So what's the first? What was your job then?
So I pretty much for 20 24 years I was in the IT world, at management information systems. Did a lot of project management, and then I was a leader in 2001. I worked for a company called UNFCU, so United Nations Federal Credit Union, and I was there for 15 years. And I was constantly promoted into a variety of different management roles and leadership roles.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it.
Yes, I enjoyed transitioning and change and improving. So anything continuous improvement, and also helping the department managers and executives get the necessary information that they need to make better decisions.
I'm seeing you as a super ambitious guy, from young Phil selling papers, right, to going to school and selling T-shirts. The kid that you described that likes to figure out stuff and look for efficiencies or gaps in efficiency, and yet when you tell me you went into IT or into that whole computer area, that kind of surprised me a little bit because it's super techy, super specific, and not necessarily always engaging with people. Right? Some of those jobs are your head's down in a cubicle at some point. So it kind of surprises me you're in there. Did you find that in that world you were able to find inefficiencies and fix things and make that part of your psyche work?
Yeah, so that's an interesting point that you make. So from a technical side, from a user side, very savvy. From behind the scenes, how it all works,
Okay.
I would oversee and support
Okay.
those folks, and from a development perspective, but the analysis of what was required to improve, that's where
From a user experience.
from a user experience
Right.
perspective, that's where I brought my
I get it.
talents. And then it's understanding the goals and the objectives of what we're trying to accomplish, and develop solutions to support that. And then I'd had a team that was strong in development,
Right. Okay.
strong in database skills. So
So you could throw the targets out there, and they could help you get to those targets.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
In the first part of that career, when you were doing project management stuff, was there a lot of travel, or was it all local for you?
No, it was. So early '90s, I was doing a lot of travel from bank to bank to bank to help roll out upgrades, because the PCs needed upgrades. And then this is how early it was. We were upgrading the PCs to have NIC cards, so network interface cards,
Yeah.
so they could actually talk to each other,
Yeah.
as opposed to be standalone PCs.
Yeah.
So I did a whole project for like 2.5 years with NatWest.
I have a reasonable amount of experience in this kind of area from my restaurant career. When I first started my operations career, we weren't really using computers. People were handwriting checks. There was some computer software in the system, but you weren't relying on it. We did accounting manually in a journal with a pencil. We did our purchases that way. We figured out our inventory that way. And slowly but surely, the POSs started developing, the point of sale systems, and then that led to back office systems and integrations, and then more and more and more. And I can remember back before we knew how to wire a restaurant, you'd plug in a computer, we'd be running a shift, and it was on the same circuit as the coffee maker or the microwave, and if somebody turned that on, it crashed the system.
Wow.
And then you started learning, okay, we need dedicated cat wires for this stuff, and we started wiring up the restaurants, and we started on the electrical putting dedicated ground lines, so they had their own orange receptacles to make sure nothing else was on it. And then just as we figured all that out, we went away from that. We don't even need it anymore. Now everything is really digital, everything's in the cloud, and there's almost no training factor involved. But back in the day, it was systems crash. How do you recover? How do you back it up? How do you validate the information? And I went through that progression too. It was in the right time for that. So, all right. So, where did that career lead? How did we get to here where you are now?
So I was in the world of IT and MIS up until 2017, and then I was actually in 2014. My son was a sophomore in high school. So you asked me about my family. So yes, I have a wife, and we had 2 kids, Anthony and Daniela, and my son was in 10th grade at the time.
You're lucky you put that in because they're going to watch this.
You didn't talk about me? So I'm helping Anthony we were in a guidance counselor meeting with other parents and students, and the guidance counselor says to me, it's never too early to start planning for college. So as a project manager, as a planner, as a analyst, I say, wow, this is wonderful. I've got a new project and I can work with my son on this activity.
Okay.
And then the goal is to help him identify which school he's going to thrive at academically and socially.
Is part of that really kind of understanding what path he might want to take?
So as part of that process, it's the career exploration process, because you really want to know in anything in life, why are you doing something?
Right.
What is your purpose? And Mark Twain said there's 2 best days of your life: the day you're born and the day you figure out your purpose.
Right.
And so helping him go through the process of things that he was interested in. He was very interested in history. He liked the political science scene, and now he was excited about international relations.
Okay.
The whole diplomacy.
It's so
component.
unusual because children at 16 don't know what they want to be. In high school, your guidance counselors are trying to get you on a path to take the right classes, to get yourself to the right colleges. We don't know what we want to be at 16, right? I think a lot of my friends didn't figure out who they wanted to be until they turned 50, to be honest with you.
And some haven't figured it out.
Yeah, so in working on this project, you were able to get there with your son and figure out maybe where he'd want to be and maybe what strengths he has to get there, and then helped him find the right place to be, right?
Yes.
So how did that evolve?
So I have a methodology to present information to anyone. So decision making is one of those key skills that you are not taught at home, at school, and or maybe ever. So generally, the rule of thumb is pros and cons. Pros and cons does not help you make a decision. If I have 8 pros on this side and 6 pros on this side, and I've got 4 cons on this side, and I got 6 cons on this side, what does that do for me?
No.
So the corporate world utilizes decision-making models. This is not taught in the family home. So there's actually 25 skills that students need to make an informed decision. What am I going to do after 12th grade?
Oh, that's interesting.
Decision making is one of them.
Yeah.
So what am I doing? I'm bridging the gap for parents and students so they are not responsible for learning all these skills before they're in 12th grade because they've got already this curriculum.
So let me back it up.
Yeah.
You identified this opportunity in this fun little project with your son, but you then, by identifying an opportunity, recognize there's a need in a market space for you to be, right? Well, let's get to that transition. How did you leave the IT information world and then make the next move? And is that where you are now?
Yes. So I was introduced to a career coach, and he asked me, what are you passionate about? And I told him, I just worked on this project, and I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And I said, I think there's something here. And so that there was a transition of a career to say, you know what? I'm just applying business skills that I've learned through my life. And now I'm going to educate parents and students instead of servicing and supporting corporate America to accomplish their goals.
Okay.
So I made the transition to start up a company.
So you said, honey, I have something to tell you. I'm leaving my stable job with a paycheck and benefits and health and all the rest of it. And I'm going to leave that on your plate, and we're going to go start a new business.
So there was this little nugget of information that the company no longer needed me. They had an incredible amount of talent.
Okay.
They had strong analysts. They had strong IT folks who had the technical background.
Yeah.
So I had the business savviness.
Yeah, you got them to this point.
So they no longer needed my services.
I've seen that.
And then I was reassessing, what am I going to do?
Okay. So how old are you at this point?
So I'm 53.
No, at the point where you're reassessing.
Oh, this is 2017, late 2017.
Not that long ago.
Yes.
Not long
So 6 years ago.
So you made my point reality. Most of my friends, when they're turning 50, are scratching their head going, is this what I was supposed to be? Did I choose the right career? And it doesn't matter what they did. Almost everybody I know seems to scratch their head and think, I'm not sure if this is everything I was supposed to be. So you kind of hit the same thing. You had an opportunity. You got pushed off the ledge, so you were forced to kind of think about what you wanted to do. And you said, I'm going to do something for me.
Yeah. So don't get me wrong. I enjoy providing help and support to anyone, utilizing my skills and talents.
Okay.
So I was doing that for all my career.
That's right.
So I always had the passion to help people,
Right.
always had the passion to provide them options, provide them creative solutions, provide them ideas. And I'm doing this now for parents and students that I've never did before until I started with my son.
All right, that's great. Before I ask my next series of questions, I just want to remind the audience here that we are on Spotify. It's Look Who's in the House with Michael. You'll find this podcast living there. We'll also be on my YouTube channel, and we'll see the full-length video of this interview. Of course, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Just go there, like, share. Thank you very much. So let's talk about your business now. What's the name of your company?
So my private company, which I started in 2008, is called Planning and Vision.
How do people find you?
So I have a website, planningandvision.com. And also I partner with a lot of variety of folks who are in the education world. So tutors and anyone who's supporting and servicing students. We exchange, we share clients and opportunities and referrals.
I don't know. It's been a while for me. I don't think I would have even thought about it at the time, but maybe it was too long ago, in the teens, somewhere in 2016, probably trying to figure out what to help my kids get to the next level. I don't know if I would have thought to look for somebody to coach me on it. Do people recognize that there's talent like you out there helping people do this now? The services like this?
So that's a great question. So it's not mainstream.
Right.
They fall back on the guidance counselors, but they don't dig in to understand the scope of work that the guidance counselor will do, because parents aren't asking a lot of questions associated with this. Or most of them say, well, I figured it out, or I had to do it by myself. I wasn't coached. I wasn't provided a mentor. So am I going to all of a sudden say to myself, my kid needs some help? Think about it. We are giving this huge responsibility to a 17-year-old to make a significant decision that they've never done before. In business, how many people would you assign a responsibility that's never did this before?
Only if they've proven themselves.
How many teenagers are proving to their parents, I could do this?
Right. Yeah.
And so there's a huge gap of knowing for the parents to say, how am I going to approach this? There's no parent 101.
Well, the other thing too, Phil, is the kids, they're Googling everything all day long right now, right? So a lot of the kids, their careers that they want to do right now is being an influencer, right? That's a real thing out there. But the kids are learning on their own. The parents are probably assuming, well, the kid's figuring it out, Googling it. And they're assuming that the guidance counselor's covering them. Guidance counselor's limited in what they're doing for a child in school. And I'm not critiquing guidance counselor, but my presumption is they're really using the information they have of a child's educational career to see where they show strengths and abilities, and perhaps potentially steering them into that hole, if at all. Or maybe leading them to resources, but they're not helping them land on a career by any means, right?
So the number of students that are assigned to a guidance counselor, 400, 300. If you do the math, if anybody does the math, you are lucky if you're spending 2 hours with this guidance counselor.
Right.
So it's addressing the gap.
Yes.
Right now, the school is a default for education.
That's right.
But that shouldn't be the starting point. It is addressing to say, hey, if I'm in front of an entire auditorium of families, and they're ranging from 7th grade to 12th grade, I would share with them that they have an opportunity to invest in their kid. How much are you investing in your kid to determine that most important factor is what are they going to do next? What do they want to learn? What do they want to study? If they say, I don't know, there are resources to help them to identify and explore.
So
Go ahead.
are you hosting like seminars for families sometimes?
So I've done a variety of webinars. I've done podcasts
Okay.
to get my name out and get the message out, because I care about our youth, and our youth need help, and the parents need help to help their youth.
So let's talk about the actual services you provide. Is it different for everybody that comes to you? Is it kind of a similar package, or how does that work?
So I started a nonprofit organization
Okay.
because I know my limitations, and I'm not an expert in everything. And so what do I want to do? I want to practice what I preach. I share with students, you need to surround yourself with people who care about you and who are experts in different things that you're not, as well as expertise in things you want to
Right.
be an expert on.
Right.
So if every parent had this as a goal in 7th grade, 8th grade, to start thinking about surrounding themselves with experts, so the parents are going to be a role model. Look at my mom and dad. They're going to other people for help.
For sure.
And so this is the same mindset you could have your kids. And if you find mentors who care about your kids and they're meeting them once a month, once every 2 weeks, whatever that is, but they have somebody to go to, because when you live with your parents for 16 to 17 years, you know what's coming. They may stop listening to you and not take your advice,
So
even if it's smart.
so let me go back. Let me go back to the question then.
Yes.
When I call you for services, is it different for each the services that you have available? Different for each person that calls you, or similar type? What are you doing?
Excellent question. So everyone is different. Everyone has their mindset. The question that I ask them, if the student is already dedicated to something and they're doing it, I don't have to spend a lot of time. I will just share with them, would you like the opportunity to go through my process to see if there's anything else that would intrigue you to learn about, to study, because no one's ever given you that opportunity.
Right.
And the student could say, no, I don't need that service. I've made my mind up. I'm all in.
All right. So if they're all in on what they're doing already, what's the next step for you?
The next step is to understand the next steps for them and what their objectives are and what their goals are. They generally don't know what their goals and objectives are. So I asked them 43 questions to have them think about, is this something that they want to achieve? And so if the student is into art, into graphic design, into computer program, and they're already doing these activities, I'm helping them identify that next step. So if it's
You're helping them find the
trade,
path. You're helping them find the path and the roadmap. But ultimately, your goal is to get them to college. But it's the right one.
So
Right? Everybody's going to be a student that you're talking to.
it is not my goal for them to go to college.
Okay.
Because I asked them what their goals are.
No, I don't mean if they go to college. If they've already decided they're going to college.
Yes.
Your game is to figure out which is the place they belong.
Where's the best fit colleges?
So by you asking those 43 questions, you can find which path, which roadmap gets them to the right place.
So those 43 questions just identifies goals and objectives.
Okay.
Then there's an entire process there's over 100 variables associated with picking a college.
So it's systematic. We're not winging it. It's not emotional. There's a systematic process from the way you think and the computer backgrounds and, step by step and flow charts. And if you go in this door, then it takes you down this avenue, right?
So Michael, you hit it on the head. I'm removing the emotion from this decision to identify what are the factors, and what am I doing? I'm presenting them data.
Great.
I'm presenting them information so they can make an informed decision, as opposed to what's happening now. They'll make shallow decisions because they heard all these opinions about the school. And I always say this, if a person tells you, oh, that's a great school, Ask them this: why is it a great school for that person?
Yeah.
They will not have a list of 10 compelling reasons to say why this is a great school for that individual, because you have to know that individual.
Right. So that's terrific, because I'm thinking about my own situation, right? My audience has heard me say this before. I was a musician. I was supposed to be a rock star. I was getting close to graduating high school. Aerosmith didn't call. I liked making money. I could not see myself in the subway banging a tambourine. And there I was facing that decision. What am I going to be when I grow up? At 16 or 17 years old, I didn't have anybody guiding me. It was on my own. And I had a friend make a suggestion. I went to school. I made a career of that. I enjoyed it. It was a great career. Perhaps if I would have met you before that, I might have been a realtor 30 years ago. You know what I mean? So I could see not everybody gets to support a family. Some people are on their own to figure this out. I could see the value in that. So if somebody's calling you and they're going to make an appointment with you, where are they meeting you? How's that meeting?
So because Zoom has gone viral, and because it's the most convenient thing, I'm mostly meeting with parents and students, and or the students themselves. And I'll let you know, this can be a teamwork project.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to put all the weight on your son or daughter. You can participate in this activity and support them.
Are there usually multiple sessions? It's usually a 12-week process, 6 weeks. I mean, for the average person?
Everyone is different because they have different goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I'm supporting them on the application, the Common App application essay.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't need my help on the essay.
Yeah.
Sometimes they need help on the application. Sometimes they need help in the planning of projects and activities. So they're all variety of people coming to me, and sometimes it's just career search.
All right, so soup to nuts. We're starting out with, first, who do you want to be? What do you want to be? Second, what are your aptitudes and skills? What are the potential careers for you? And then from there, okay, now that we've identified a potential career, what are the potential schools that would service your needs and fit all these other check boxes? And then from there, once we've made that decision, now you're helping through the application process.
So there's a college application process that I'm helping them with if they're applying to colleges, and if it's the trades that they're interested, and or if there's careers that don't require a college degree and they have no desire to do the college degree, then I'm helping them with their career planning,
Okay.
and connecting them with people who do this for a living to get more intel and open up doors for them.
In most cases, when does that service with the client end? Once they've got accepted to school and they made a decision? Or what happens if they don't get into the schools they want? Is there more work to be done?
So the students will generally discontinue services as soon as they make the decision of where they're going to college.
Okay.
So that's the other process. Is when you're accepted to 12 schools,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to weed this out
Yeah.
to know which one is the best fit for you, and then we're going through that process. Generally, that's where it ends.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to, because I provide career planning services, and if they want to get ahead and have internships during college, either they have a choice.
Yeah.
To do this with me or not.
This is great stuff. These are services not everybody knows exist out there. You know, I did an interview with somebody else in our network group, Michael McLean. Terrific. He provides a service helping people identify which nursing home is the right nursing home for their family. And it's a similar service. You wouldn't think about it. When people need that service, it's happening, and you just kind of jump into it on your own, and you kind of pick on your own, but it doesn't mean you landed in the place that serves that person the best. And to that degree, I feel like you're in a similar role, providing a service most people aren't aware of, but can really help define, refine, and push that person into the right place based on their skill sets and their desires and all that.
Yeah, so Michael's a matchmaker, and planning is key in his arena.
Yeah.
To have time. Also, in my area,
Yeah.
planning is key. Is your goal to get into the best college that you could get into? You've got to plan for that.
When you see in students, what grade are they in?
So there are students that I meet at 9th grade.
Okay.
They have 4 years, and now they've got the insights to plan and prepare.
Sure.
Instead of and it's happening now, I get seniors calling me, I get the parents calling me, and now we've got 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's less time
Yeah.
that they've afforded themselves. And will they learn the lesson of how important planning is instead of waiting for...
Might be a little reactive.
Yeah. Oh, my
You know,
goodness.
for me, in my real estate world, I'm thinking about selling my house. I'm thinking about selling my house. I'll call you when I'm ready. And when people call me and they're ready like tonight. But if we would have talked about it over the last 6 months or year, maybe I would have guided you to maybe put some, freshen up the driveway or change the mailbox, or, we could have taken pictures in this season when the pool was open and the flowers were up, instead of you just pull the trigger in February. Now I can't take those pictures. So I'd love the opportunity with my clients to plan that out a little further as well.
Outstanding. So it's just like anything in life. If you have a house, you're going to either sell it or you're going to die before you could sell it. But guess what? You could still plan for that activity.
That's right.
And it's whether it's wills, what their wishes are, and then is their goal to reduce the amount of stuff they have in the house and everything else. And is that where they want to, live for the rest of their life? And then if it's a 3-story house, if you're 75 years old, is that going to be conducive?
I went out last week with a terrific buyer. We looked at some lovely property, beachfront, just gorgeous. I mean, there was a flaw. There's steps to get in the front door, and there's steps to go after that. And this family is planning on aging out in this home. So they're thinking about that stage of life where we're not going to want to walk steps in 10 years from now. That's not going to work for us. So you have to think about those things in advance and plan for it. If you're staying in the home, right, we can add a lift on a staircase. We can change the way the bathroom is set up, add handrails and grab bars, and maybe change a tub to a shower with a low curb. I mean, there's a lot to think about.
Excellent. So there's options even if you're facing the challenges of aging out in your house.
Yeah. Wow, this is great, Phil. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you'd want my community here to know about that you're doing that I didn't touch on?
So the Helpopedia concept is pretty extraordinary, where we are addressing the gaps for students to prepare for life skills. Right? You don't get all the necessary life skills at home. The parents don't have an inventory. Here's the list of 100 life skills. You have to make a decision. Are you going to teach your kids these life skills? Are you going to get an expert to teach your kid these life skills?
Well, you're only going to teach the skills that you know, right? You don't know what you don't know, right? So a parent's going to teach a kid everything they have, but if they don't have that set of skills, they don't know they don't have it, and then that kid's not going to learn it.
So you're telling me, Michael, your parents never taught you something that they weren't an expert in?
I don't recall being taught anything that my parents weren't an expert in. No,
okay.
Really.
I get lots of advice from my parents, and not necessarily are they experts in.
Right.
And I'm sure your friends do it
too.
Too.
Advice, sure. But I mean, in terms of teaching skills.
No. So, okay.
My father couldn't teach me how to fill out the form for financial aid. Trust me.
Okay.
He just told me, go fill out the form for financial aid. And most of the form, you need your parent right next to you to fill out the information. Right. So I was like, hey, come here. I need you a little bit. Right.
Yes.
So, all right, this is great stuff. I'm looking forward to having you come back. For my audience, please write questions, comments. We could do some follow-up with Phil. We'll bring him back. Charlie's going to post some graphics. We'll have phone numbers, websites. You can reach out for services. How do you get paid? People pay you directly? You're not getting paid by a third party, right?
Correct. I'm an independent college and career coach.
You bill for
Colleges
a package,
aren't paying for me.
Or do you bill by the hour? How does that work?
Yeah, so I'm very customer focused, and I know that the parents are on the hook for some big expenses in the future. And so I'm very reasonable, and I charge an hourly rate and then minimum of 90 minutes per session.
Good. Wonderful. Fantastic conversation with you today, Phil. Thank you so much for joining us. Who's in the House with Michael? Spotify. Find us on the YouTube channel. Again, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever we can be. We're there.